There was a garden Jesus liked to go to called the Garden of Gethsemane. The night before Jesus was going to be crucified, he went there to pray. He asked his disciples to sit down while he went to pray. He took Peter, James, John with him a little farther, maybe as far as you can throw a stone. As Jesus prayed, he began to be very sad and troubled. He told his disciples he was so very sad and asked them to stay and watch with him. Going a little farther away, he fell on his face on the ground and prayed. Jesus knew the terrible things that were going to happen to him. He asked God to please not let them happen. He said, "Remove this cup from me." By that he meant the same thing you might do if someone gave you a cup of something that you did not want to drink. But Jesus was always obedient to his Father's will. As he prayed, he asked that things not happen the way that he wanted them to, but the way that God the Father wanted them to. Then an angel from heaven came, making him stronger, although he was so very upset and praying so hard that he began sweating drops of blood. After he stopped praying, he went back to the disciples and found out they were all asleep. He asked Peter why he could not stay awake and watch with him for even 1 hour. Jesus told Peter and the other disciples to stay awake, watch and pray that they not enter into temptation. He told them that he knew as his friends they wanted in spirit to stay awake, but that their flesh was weak, meaning that while they wanted to stay awake, they just couldn't because their bodies were not as strong as their wish to be awake with Jesus. After waking them up, Jesus went off to pray again. His prayer again was that he had to do what the Father wanted. No matter how awful it was going to be, he would do it. Then he went back to the disciples and found them asleep again. Jesus woke them up, but they did not know what to say to him about falling asleep. Jesus went off by himself to pray again for the 3rd time, saying again that if he had to drink from the cup, then the Father's will be done. When he came back, the disciples were asleep again. He told them they would have to sleep later because he, the Son of Man, was about to be turned over to those who wanted to arrest him by a friend, and that friend was close by. Before Jesus was done talking, that friend Judas, one of the 12 disciples, came and brought with him a big crowd of people, including the chief priest and the elders of the people, and they all had swords and clubs. Judas knew that Jesus had been staying in the garden recently, and so knew where to find him. Judas had told these people he would show them which one was Jesus by greeting him with a kiss, and when he kissed Jesus, the people should grab him. Of course, a kiss is a nice and loving thing between friends and family. Yet Judas chose this sign of friendship to tell the crowd who Jesus was. As Judas walked toward him, Jesus said, "So Judas, you are going to betray the Son of Man with a kiss?" But Judas could not be stopped, and he came up to Jesus at once and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and he kissed him. Jesus told Judas to do what he came to do, and so the crowd surrounded him and grabbed him. One of the disciples who was with Jesus drew his sword and hit the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. Jesus told him to put his sword down because everyone who uses a sword will die by a sword. Jesus then touched the man's ear and healed it. He also told his friends that he could ask his Father for help, and he would send 12 legions of angels to rescue him. But if he did that, how could Scripture be fulfilled? Jesus said that these bad things had to happen to him now. Then Jesus asked the crowd, "Why are you coming after me like I'm a robber, with swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not bother me." He told the chief priests that it was their hour and power of darkness. But all these things were happening so that the scriptures of the prophets would come true. After that, all the disciples ran away because they were afraid they would be taken too. There was even a young man wrapped in a linen cloth following Jesus too. But when the crowd seized him and left the cloth and ran away naked. That must have been quite a night for Jesus and his disciples. But they would learn that there was even more that Jesus was going to go through for them and us. But that's the story for the next time. I hope you've enjoyed listening and learning a lot about what happened to Jesus and his disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane.